I could not be here breathing and be comfortable. Could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad as they was making it. You know, nobody could be around me. So for me to be this calm, I must have some kind of inner peace. And my inner peace is knowing that once everybody take the time to really see what type of person I am, you'd be surprised that I stuck around this long. I have to make the life that I do live as happy as I can and try to do the best with what I have. You know, live the best life I can live, be as happy as I can be. Nothing is perfect for anybody. I don't know.
Boys, I swear, I think I figured it out. You know why they don't want us redneck brothers and sisters and the hood brothers and sisters getting along? You know why? Because we'd be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now, we would shut shit down.
Blessings, and good evening. Can you hear me, guys? I hope you guys can hear me and see me. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace, and today we're coming with another deep dive into the Nolan Wells case. This is part 5, okay? So if you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace, and I always say this: I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a separatist and separate from the BS, okay? So I'm here to cook on the truth today. Part 5 of the Nolan Well deep dive. Like, wait, let's just rewind. What we do here, what I do here is cook on the facts. A lot of these things you may have heard, but I like to put it in some type of chronological order, make it make sense. The people who have been watching our deep dives has started a true timeline on your own, just like me. And we're just trying to help the investigation along and figure out what's the truth versus not the truth. So today, we're going to get into Mama Wells and Papa Wells' latest interview. We're going to get into the second part of Ben Crump's interview. We're going to get into some things. We got a lot to cook on. We're going to get into some of the laws that surrounding the different levels that is involved in this case. Okay, like the laws on Horn Island. All right, we went over it. I've been looking. We're going to go back over it. You know, Mama Grace. I like some controlled environment, but I'm going to move forward. Also, we're going to get into the U.S. Coast Guard laws. What was they supposed to do related to the situation? We're moving into a little bit of the phone issue. I think that is addressed early, and it's going to be addressed early in this broadcast. We have so much to cook on. So, also, we're going to get into the boat. We do have a TikTok expert. We're going to look at a few of her videos as she breaks down the boat mechanics and what possibly could have happened. Come on, we got so much. I'm ready for you guys. And we're also going to kind of review what they did during the search for Nolan Wells. One of the questions I asked was MDMR, like where did they actually look? And it was like 0.1 mile radius or something like that. We're gonna go over it, okay? I was a little disappointed, but let's cook on it. So I want to say thank you for being here with Miss Grace. I'm happy to be here tonight. Y'all know what it is. Sometimes it's hard out here for a pimp. I'm just playing, y'all. We're gonna have a good night tonight. So let's see what this is. Let's start with the interview. We're going to start with the interview before I go into any other TikTok videos and things like that. Let's start with Mama interview because there's some things that's very important that I want to, highlight here because it seems like something is weird. Yeah, know I am. you know how I am. Something is weird. We pay attention to details. And yeah, I think we need to pay attention to some of the things she said that happened that night with the phone. Okay. So one of the questions I had in my other live was, who took Nolan's phone off of the boat? Okay, this is a very important question. It doesn't seem like anyone is asking. So, guys, take the wheel. Who took the phone off of Nolan boat? To my memory, the phone was taken off the boat by Wyatt, according to Warren in his interview. Okay, so just remember that bit of information because they're not really talking about it. And then I want you to hear Mama Wells' testimony of what happened that day on the 4th of July. Okay, so let's play this.
I wonder if either of you, whoever wants to answer, what happened in those few hours that yes. Dad, I want to ask you, because it was Warren Hudson, one of the people that he traveled with, who called to alert you all that
Hold on.
my sister was like, oh, you know,
You got to go back.
I want to tell you in the audience,
We're going to play it from a little bit closer in the beginning because I want you to hear what Miss Christine says, okay?
in this room, but also watching at home, are thousands of Black journalists. But in addition to being Black journalists, these are mothers and fathers, siblings, cousins, aunts and uncles of Black children. And we see your humanity. And we're going to center that in this conversation. There you go.
Yeah.
I told Christine if we cry on this stage, it's okay, because we're among family.
Amen.
So you take your time. Christine, I'm going to start with you. On Friday, July 3rd, Nolan made you dinner. And so as you're telling us about the last time you saw your baby boy, I want you to talk to us about who Nolan was and tell us about that day.
So Nolan is and was an incredible, just incredible soul. He was the person who, no matter where you were in life, or what was going on, he was going to be your biggest cheerleader.
I'm speeding it up a little bit, okay? Now, you hear with her what she just said. This is just minor, but she did say that Nolan was the type of person that was like your biggest fan. And that is so crazy because Triton, what is the gentleman name? I keep calling him the mixed kid. But he directly said in the last live, we bring that up, is that Nolan always encouraged him, and made him feel good about himself and his accomplishment. He highlighted that. So this is a personality. This is definitely a consensus of personality, and that's highlighting how good of a person Nolan was. And I'm highlighting this because some of the story that was told by Warren was a little off to me when he said they told Nolan to get on the boat. And Nolan sees them in distress and decides not to help. So I just want to highlight that. It's some contradictions about how they describe Nolan and then how they describe the situation. It's not aligned with his personality.
Leader. And I can attest to that because after COVID, my sister was like, oh, you should do social media. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do social media. I like to just watch others. And then Nolan was like, no, Mom, you should do it. I'll help you with the videos. I got you. And, just anytime I was like, oh, I just really don't want to do this anymore, Nolan was like, no, Mama, you hadn't posted today. And I'm like, I don't want to post. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But, that's the kind of person he was. He was God-fearing, God-loving. That boy had faith beyond measure. He was just a bright light. And he was our bright light. As far as that day goes, went to work, and he was making salmon. So he was FaceTiming me as I'm trying to see patients kind of in between, of course, not answering the phone in the room. And he's like, hey, Mama, how does this look? Is this enough seasoning? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I was like, okay. I was like, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, I'm going to take care of it. I was like, okay, sure. And so he finishes cooking, get home. He's like, yeah, what you know about this? And he was, guys, when I tell you, he loved to joke. Like, he was just one of those people. He wanted everyone around him to smile, be happy, feel comfortable and accepted. And that is the kind of person God made him. Us as parents, we definitely had that influence, but Nolan was just naturally a peacemaker.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, after that, it was, 8, and then he got ready to go. He did his normal, hugged us up, I love you, Mom. I was like, be safe, knowing this was going to be his last weekend before going back to school, because football was starting, the summer training was starting, and this was his second year at Southwest, and so we knew this was going to be a big year for him. Dad and him had been training and doing all these things and really just kind of sitting with him and letting him know, like, hey, we're going to the next stage in your life as well as, your football career. So the focus was there, and he was ready.
So he leaves that day.
He leaves that day with, he drives his car, and he told us kind of a general, like, hey, we're going to go to the island. Like, we knew that, staying at Jack's house. And Jax was a friend I think we've met in passing before. And that's the thing, I always say there's a difference in meeting someone, knowing of someone, and then knowing someone. Knowing implies that we've sat down, we've had discussions about your hopes, your dreams, knowing you, okay, hey, he stayed the night at my house, which Wyatt, one of his friends, he had stayed at our house a couple of times. And then Jax, again, that was one I just maybe saw in passing a few times. There was only a handful of young men that we actually knew, like, he grew up with. And when I say grew up, I'm saying from like first grade, they've known each other all through high school now that they're graduated. And that would be like Jalen and Javon, LeBaron. Those are kids that we knew. So it's been hard.
Okay, so the most important thing that I want y'all to take from the last few minutes is that Nolan stayed at Jack's house. So you guys still have to educate me on everyone. Last broadcast, I was trying to understand the story that Warren was saying, like, we stayed at our buddy house, our buddy grandparents. So I'm wondering if this was who they were talking about, Jack's, because at that time I thought it was Wyatt. Okay, so we have to clarify that, the ones who's doing this investigation with Grace Levi. I just want to figure out who house he spent the night at. We just get details, because that can tell us if Nolan had any issues prior. These are the things that the investigators should be asking. Was there any conflicts prior to them getting on the boat? Any funny feelings? But we need to know where he was at and who was he around. So if y'all know exactly who house he spent the night at, please put it in the comments for me.
Seeing all this kind of play out.
Yeah.
And, these are people that he considered friends.
Yes. Dad, I want to ask you, because it was Warren Hudson, one of the people that he traveled with, who called to alert you all that Nolan was missing.
Yes.
So we know at 5:44, the boat returns, Nolan is not there. At 11 p.m., he calls to say Nolan is missing. I wonder if either of you, whoever wants to answer, what happened in those few hours that prompted Warren to be concerned?
I'm not quite sure what would prompt him to be concerned, but all I can say is what I did that day.
Now, I want you to listen closely to what Miss Christine says, because this makes the boys even more suspect. Listen.
So me and my sister, we made an order of pancit, which is a Filipino noodle dish for one of our friends. They were having a big family get together, and we really didn't have anything planned for the 4th. So me and my sister are, cleaning up, and this is about 8. And she's like, hey, Nolan hasn't texted us. And that was the thing. Nolan was really big with communication with us, right? And so I call him, doesn't answer. I end the call. Call back, and this is probably, I think, maybe around 8. Don't quote me on the times, guys.
Can we stop? Can we just stop? Is everybody listening? While they were food shopping, her friend was like, hey, they both noticed that they haven't heard from Nolan. We're going to replay that just a little bit, because this was never really brought to the attention that Mama Christine tried to call Nolan around 8 p.m. Note this on the timeline, guys, okay?
And that was the thing. Nolan was really big with communication with us, right? And so I call him, doesn't answer. I end the call. Call back, and this is probably, I think, maybe around 8. Don't quote me on the times, guys. So then I call again.
Around 8, but it's definitely after 4 p.m. It's later on in the evening, and it's before she received the call from Warren.
Later, around 8, still no answer. And then I want to say I called one more time, and I think that was at like 10:48. So
oh my!
I'm in the kitchen.
Can we stop? Oh my God. I had to say, oh my goodness. I had to say it like a Haitian. Shout out to my Zoes. Oh my goodness. So do you hear this? She said the last time she called was around 10:48. That was very direct and very specific. I can't even get the word out. I'm so like, oh my God. Okay. When did Warren start calling? 15 to 20 minutes later? Pressure? Was somebody feeling pressure to call? We have to keep in mind what's going on possibly on the other side. They were still partying. They went to a grandma's house. They ate. They went to sleep. They got up, went to another party. Warren went upstairs. Well, I'm gonna say the grandma's house was a party, but they went to that one party. Um, Warren went upstairs. He was so still exhausted. He was talking to dad. So that had to be probably around 10 or so, which means 2 phone calls came through at least on Nolan's phone from his mother. Do you see where I'm getting at here? Do you see where something is weird? So who took Nolan's phone? And I asked this probably in part 3. How did Nolan's phone get to the house? Okay, and I have to say the house because I have to verify who house almost got ran into. You guys let me know. I'm not sure. I don't remember who house was it, but it was probably Jack's. Okay, that house that I mean ran into Nolan real friends. It was about to cause some mayhem. But this is very important information, guys. Please dock it on your timeline. Mama Christine tried to call Nolan at least twice, and I would assume after the hours of 4 o'clock, towards the evening time, she stated about 8, and she did with details 10:48. Let's keep playing. We're listening to context clues here.
Phone rings. Now, this is probably like early 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. Phone rings when I make it back to the phone, and I'm like, whose number is this? Because, you know, we get weird phone calls sometimes. They didn't leave a message. Number pops back up. I pick up the phone because it says maybe Warren. And I'm like, Warren? So this is 11:07. That's per my cell phone records. So I answered the phone. He's like, hey, Miss Christine, have you seen or talked to Nolan? I said, no. Why? He should be with you guys.
So
he said, oh,
about how we can say 15 minutes after she called the 3rd time. Can we guesstimate that?
oh no, well, you know, when we went to the island, there was a girl named Katie that he met and he had decided to stay behind. I said, what?
Now, don't forget that they said that they did not know the girl who Nolan was with, according to alleged first police report. What I saw in the police report, that's what they were saying online. We're just going to keep that in mind. But what I saw in the police report is that they gave the police the wrong girl's name. It was some girl that haven't seen Nolan in a year, 2 years. And I think that was something to throw them off. That's according to the police report. Okay. We went over that. So that's weird that by 11 o'clock, Warren's like, Katie, Katie, Katie. And according to the police report, they gave another name.
Because we know our child. And Nolan isn't one to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and I'm going to stay here with this girl that I just met. So I'm on the phone with him. Now I'm in a panic. I'm running into my room. Elmore was in bed watching a different movie. And I'm like frantic. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, Nolan is missing.
Okay, before I'm going to let her finish, but I just like, this is a mom. It had to be mama instincts. I knew it was a mama instincts. They didn't really call her first. She called Nolan's phone at least 3 times before they actually called her. Well, Warren called her. Okay. She says she called a little bit after 8. I just have to highlight this because the boat tracking of Warren boat says around 7:19 p.m. the boat moved to Fort Bayou. Boat launched to be removed from the water. I call that God and mama intuition. By 8 o'clock, Mama Christine and her friend was like, wait a minute. Where is Nolan? I just want to highlight that. Okay, let's go.
I'm trying to pull up the GPS as I'm talking to him. And at some point, he tells me that, I was like, well, you know, his phone says GPS Life 360, not Snapchat.
Right.
Life 360 says that he's on land. And he was like, well, no, I mean, you know, well, we have his phone. And I'm like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. Because at that point, you're telling me, this is coming from Warren, don't worry about it. We're going to find him. It's going to be okay. Don't tell me not to worry. This is my child, my flesh and blood that I brought into this world.
And you have his phone that can actually have any type of GPS connection to him. Okay, I just had to add that, Mama Christine.
And you're telling me not to worry. Absolutely not. So then it was after the phone call ended, of course, asking him for information. What was he wearing? He was like, last seen, Northwest tip, black shorts, sunglasses. That's important. So I end up calling.
Now, according to what she said, it sounds like Warren gave the wrong description, because according to the picture that Tatum showed and several pictures of Nolan, he had some jean-like blue shorts. They were like not jean material, but they were like nice polo jean, blue, baby blue type. Y'all remember that?
DMR. Spoke with the DMR. She took all
Just
the
for our audience, DMR.
So DMR is because he went missing on the island. They are basically the marine people, right? They're the ones who's going to launch the boats to go into the water and all that. But before getting off the phone with Warren, he was like, hey, I know some people at Coast Guard. I said, okay. He's like, I'm going to call Coast Guard. You call DMR. Get on the phone with DMR. I give the young lady the information. And she tells me, hey, I got this. Let me call you back. Because she was like, I'm not sure if this is going to be in our jurisdiction, essentially. So then she calls back and she tells me, okay, yeah, we spoke with Coast Guard. And I'm like, okay. But they're like, this isn't our jurisdiction. You have to contact the city of Ocean Springs. I said, okay. Hang up the phone. Call in Ocean Springs Police Department. They say, hey, you have to physically come down and give a report. I said, okay. So on our way, because we don't live that far from the police station, on our way there, I was like, well, let me stop by the hospital, because there's a hospital that's...
Okay, so let's just break down a little bit of the delay in timeline, because in myself, I was like, who gonna get in trouble? MDMR or the Coast Guard? Okay, so I had to figure it out. Somebody gonna get in trouble for something. Somebody didn't follow some protocol. So with that goes to say, MDMR, you know that she was going between jurisdictions from about 11 to about 1 a.m. or so, until someone actually took the call. So I said, hey, would MDMR actually get in trouble? So according to my research, they said because it wasn't a life or death situation, and I don't understand how someone's missing is not a life or death situation, emergency, the delay may not warrant for any actions. Okay, why they face no liabilities? Because if y'all know me, I want somebody to feel something. So the nature of the distress call, the teens did not broadcast a life-threatening or missing person emergency call initially. So initially, when at 4 o'clock, 3:48, when they called, because he keeps saying, Warren keeps saying he left at 4:30, but according to all the documentation, the CETO call came in at 3:48. Okay, it's because they didn't ask for, the Coast Guard or, the Department of Marine Resources to help. They wasn't actually involved in the emergency part of it. The emergency part would have been that phone call when they was allegedly sinking. Okay, so the call to CETO was a private commercial towing company. And again, we still got to do a little deep dive into it, because some way, somehow, Grandpa Jerry was able to call CETO, be aware that they were sinking, and then tell them no while the young boys were on the phone. Okay, all right, so we just got to keep this in mind, that these things are going on. So I'm addressing the fact, can MDMR get in trouble right now? No, but I really want them to. So the Coast Guard, okay, official records from the U.S. Coast Guard and Jackson County Sheriff confirmed the law enforcement was not notified that Nolan Wells was actually missing until the next day, approximately 12:30 p.m. Y'all see I got quiet? So even after the local police took the information, they did not forward it. This is why we have Ben Crump, because there have to be some civil liabilities if it's not any criminal, and we pray that it is. But do you see this? Okay. So they didn't receive any information until approximately July 5th at 12:30 p.m. Once the missing person report was officially filed, their unified search and rescue operation took place, included with MDR, Marine Patrol, and the Coast Guard helicopter. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later about the Coast Guard. Okay, where they went when they were looking, because you know the storm came in, guys. Now y'all know how I feel about those storms that just come out of nowhere. I be thinking it's spiritual warfare, but we'll move forward. Okay. So during the initial mechanical breakdown, allegedly mechanical breakdown on July 4th, the teenagers explicitly said no. They turned down the emergency intervention from the Coast Guard. Ooh, I do apologize. So that says a lot to me, because at this time when you're thinking about the drown, you'd rather have just a Tito. But then when you get home, and then after all of what we just said happened, where Mama Wells started calling, and yeah, you took your little nap, ate some food, talked to grandma and grandpa, then went to talk to another adult. All of a sudden, let's call the Coast Guard. Let's start looking for Nolan. This is a little bit weird. Okay. So again, the boat owner's grandfather arranged a private tow-in via Bart Emerson. Okay. So when did Jerry call Bart? Should they be forensic auditing everybody's phone? I'm just saying. Because the timeline for me has to be very clear and concise. And it doesn't make sense that the grandfather will stop. We're going in because we have so much to share. We have so much to share. But this is like all the stuff that was kind of taking place before Mama Wells started calling at about 8. Well, before 8, then 8, then around 10:48. Okay, that is just so weird. We're going to give you a little bit more about MDR and the Coast Guard response, what they were supposed to do. But let's finish listening to Mama Wells, because what we do is provide facts here so we can help push this investigation along. We pray that there is the definitive prosecution for somebody or something. But as you know, with a beach full of 2,000 people or so, according to Tatum, somebody saw something. All right, let's continue.
Maybe 5 minutes up the road from our house. Stop by there. I'm like, hey, have you guys seen this kid? Has he been brought in? The lady's like, no, ma'am. You know, we hadn't. I said, okay, thank you. Run out. We go to the police department. Get to the police station. And the officer basically says, again, this is out of our jurisdiction. And at that point, I'm like, my God, who am I supposed to talk to? Who is supposed to help me with this? So then he said, it's going to be, you would have to call DMR. I was like, we've already called DMR. DMR said it's not in their jurisdiction.
So they said it's not an emergency. And I mean, from my research, DMR won't get in trouble, but they did delay it. It was an emergency. She called DMR. Then she went to call the local police. So I'm just kind of like thrown up about when they consider it being an emergency or life threatening. Someone's left on Horn Island, okay, island that has no amenities, no toilet, no lights, no nothing. I would assume is life or death, but okay.
And so we end up, I think at some point I had called Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Yeah. So she calls back and she's like, hey, are you there? I said, yes, we're here, but he's telling us the same thing you guys told us, which is no, we can't take it. She gets on the phone with the police officer. Now, this is Jackson County Sheriff's Department speaking with the Ocean Springs Police Department. Ocean Springs Police Department is saying, this is why we can't take this information. She says, okay. He gives me the phone back. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take the information. And that was, we met an officer. It was after midnight. Right. Yeah, somewhere after midnight. Met him in the McDonald's parking lot, gave him the information. He was just like, okay, thanks. I was like, like, where is the urgency? Mm-hmm. And so, as far as we know, there were no boats on the water that night. We actually, his high school football coach, Coach Bramlett, text Elmore that morning. He said, hey man, I got a boat. Because again, we don't have boats. Let me make that very clear. We do not have a boat. We're not boating people. We don't do water like that. Okay.
Now, I just want to add a little bit more about this because it makes me feel some way. I really do think MDMR should be in trouble because she contacted them, but then the sheriff or she would bounce back between the sheriff office. So according to my research, it says even though there wasn't may not be any point for them to get in legal trouble or face criminal penalties, the delay at 11:49 timeline is exactly why Ben Crump legal team is involved. Just like I told you, it hammers that the state lack of transparency, coordination of the reported missing person created a tremendous liability. Okay, it proves that the authority knew Nolan was unaccounted for nearly 12 hours before the formal multi-agency search finally took place the next afternoon. Okay, and the reason why they didn't take any further action, that's why I said, who is Jerry? Well, like y'all gotta go deep dive on these people so y'all can make the connection. Somebody do a board because no further actions were taken by MDNR. Marine Patrol reported explicitly because Nolan friends said that he stayed with a girl. He told them that too. But it's crazy because when you look at Horn Island and how it has no safety measures, I would assume that they would have, at least thought it could be a liability, a problem. Who the hell stays on the island all night, no lights, and just by themselves? That's just so out of pocket. So that's the reason why Ben Crump is around. It's hard for us to get these people prosecuted. So I guess the next best step is to hit them in their pockets with liabilities. Okay, so let's finish listening.
So Coach Bramlett's like, hey, I got a boat. So we was like, great, let's go. We're on the water. We go out there. We walk the island. Cell phone works perfectly fine. I actually had almost an entire conversation with my grandmother who was in a panic as we're walking this island looking for anything.
I just want to pause there. The cell phone worked fine because in the reporting, there's been so much reporting that there's poor cell phone reception. And this is some of the disputes that we have about that night. Dad, feel free to jump in here because they're saying he met this young lady, Katie, and that he stayed back. According to the reporting, Katie is saying no. He said he was going to go with his friends. According to the reporting, the friends say no, he left us his phone because there was no reception. Dad, have you found any consistencies? Have you spoken directly with any of his friends?
Well, the first inconsistency was you called me and tell me my son stayed on the island to talk to a girl. My son would never do that. That's not in his character. I didn't raise none of my kids to do that. The second thing is you say he doesn't have his phone. He doesn't leave his phone. I would wake up sometimes in the morning and Nolan would have his phone here right in my face. And I'm waking up cussing the first like, boy, you don't get the camera on my face. And he just laughing and giggling and stuff like that. So that's twice. To me, that's two lies that he told me as a father. Like I said, we went on the island. And actually a classmate of mine called me that morning as we were going out to the island with Nolan's coach. He's like 40 miles away. He calls and, hey man, I got the boat. Me and my boys, we're gonna go out there and help you look. I didn't call him, he called me. And we're gonna start on this end. I said, well, we're probably gonna start on the other end. So me, my wife, Coach Bramlett, and a high school classmate of mine were we were the first ones out there looking.
Okay, so before we get into the search, what he's talking about, the next entity that I want to talk about is the Coast Guard. Because I'm like, yo, who getting in trouble here? Can the Coast Guard get in trouble? Because baby, they were put on notice. They were put on notice. All right, I got my documents. Let's talk about it a little bit. So it was a misstatement that they said that the Coast Guard wasn't put on notice till 12 p.m. the next day. It was only MDMR. They were put on notice the next day, but they received the first phone call. Let's not forget about that. Just bounce back and forth. Okay. But The U.S. Coast Guard responds timely, allegedly, to a major point of confusion that required the official public correction from the federal authorities. Initial misstatement from Petty Officer Kanyan, that's the name, with the USCG Heartland District initially stated that the Coast Guard had no knowledge of Nolan's disappearance until 12:26 p.m. on Sunday, when the Jackson County Sheriff Office formally requested their rescue assistance. The correction is following the initial public pressure and pushback. Thank you to all the content creators, all of the TikTokers. Don't stop. Again, remember, guys, there's other stories out there as well. We got to feng shui them all together. Shout out to Carmelo Anthony on the 19th. He has his 2 hearings. We're going to be going into him tomorrow, and we have more people to talk about. So shout out to all the legacy content creators, because this is because of you. Because this statement came out because of you, not because of these people. Breaking news. I got jokes. I got jokes. Okay. It was because of y'all. So keep up the good work. All right. So because of pressure from the legacy media, and the pushback from Nolan Well family, the Coast Guard officially correct the record. They confirmed that one of Nolan's friends, later identified as Warren, called and reported the disappearance at 12:26 p.m. Sunday, July. Hold on. I do apologize. I just went back up. My dyslexia kicked in. Actually, Warren did call the Coast Guard the night of July 4th, corrected statement, at 11 p.m. and reported him missing. So did he call the Coast Guard first and then call Mama Christine? Huh? After Mama Christine called 3 times? Remember, 10:48 p.m. She called Nolan phone. And then by 11 o'clock, Warren was like, wait, I gotta call the Coast Guard. That's why Warren's looking so sick right now. I'm praying for you, Warren. Now, you guys remember Mama Grace said it. I said, what's going on? Look at Nolan. Like, I know y'all was like, something wrong with him. When I was watching the video, him talking, and something came over my heart. And I was like, oh, that boy is going through it. And it's like, it's just a feeling. He has a heart, but he is part of the halves. So he has to make a choice. So Warren called at 11 p.m. So my thing, does that put the Coast Guard under liability? We're going to have to wait and see what Ben Crumps makes of these liabilities that we highlighting, because it's not on. We just going to have to push to break some pockets, because there's always a loophole in something for someone not to get in trouble for some apparent reason. Welcome to America. But with that goes to say, they received a call at 11 p.m. on the 4th of July, the Coast Guard. And Mississippi Department of Marine Resources was one of the first few who got the phone call, and they were bouncing Mama Christine back and forth. That's serious. That is serious. That's a serious problem, guys. Serious. Okay. Horn Island is a national, like, what is it? National, owned by the national parks. Okay. This is a landmark, according to what I found out about Horn Island, that they used to use it like during war times for practicing things like that. So this is a landmark, guys. And Horn Island was up for sale last year. Oh, I was just doing some research. I'm like, somebody trying to buy it privately. Okay, that's just some side information. I wonder who's trying to buy it privately. Okay, so again, for the TikTokers and everybody else, go up in there and dig up in there to figure out why Mississippi Department of Marine Resources did not respond. And when they did, how are they not liable? According to what I have found. Okay. So the jurisdiction boundaries, Coast Guard versus county sheriff. This was what was going on. It was a 13-hour delay. So they said the only way that this could be turned around and they get liability if it was gross negligence. It's literally a whole half a day that a young man is left on national park, national land, no lights, no bathrooms, no electricity, 12 hours, 13 hours later. Does that seem like an emergency or gross negligence? Yes, to me. Let's point the fingers in the right direction as well. We ain't gonna just keep talking about these young men. I know Warren about to crack, but we need to get our eyes on the agencies. That's what made me mad at me. That's who I like to focus in on. Our laws and our situations are not going to change until we focus on the right entities. It is important to go after each individual who does wrong, but if the system seems to cover, make mistakes and things like that, no, we have to fix that. Okay. So 13 hours because of jurisdictional boundary conflict or issue, whatever. It was a 13-hour delay from the first call. The active Coast Guard boats hitting the water, highlighting that when we get to it, the actual search that was done by them was shorter than dad's search, than their own family search. Okay. So, under 14 U.S. Code 52, the Coast Guard holds supreme federal authority over the high seas and waters subjected to U.S. jurisdiction. That's why they should have knew, regardless. Whatever the sheriff said, where the heck you expect the sheriff to go out in the water? That's what I said. They should have knew. There's no way. It says under the jurisdiction, the trigger, the Coast Guard legal mandates is explicitly tied to the search and research SAR in the water and enforce maritime laws on active vessels. So the Coast Guard right now should be pushing some charges on some adults that let some kids drive the boat drunk to Horn Island, and you know Grandpa Jerry was not there. Okay, at least Bart was of age, but you already know everybody over 21 had to be the designated drinkers bringers. Okay, and we had a lot of adults there. Shout out to one of the comments. I don't know who it was, but they was like, after they watched the video last week, they was like, I didn't notice how many adults were actually there. These wasn't just babies. These wasn't kids only. These were adults that like to get wasted. All right. So it should have triggered the search and rescue in the water. Why they delayed? Because the initial report placed on Nolan safely on dry land of Horn Island. Instead of hitching a ride with the group, they stated that he wanted to stay. So this was why the delay. It classified as a missing person on island rather than an active maritime distress situation. But regardless, like I said, so that means that Mississippi, no, that means that the National Park Service should have been made aware that night. So if me, mom, contact the missing Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, they like, nope, it's not us right now because they said that he was on land. And then you contact the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard say, nope, he was on land. What land was he on? All right, who do we contact? The National Park. Like, I mean, am I bugging? So gross negligence is what I hear here. Okay. So just it says the Coast Guard does not have jurisdiction to conduct land-based missing person investigation. That's the responsibility of that falls under the local law enforcement. And there's no local law enforcement on Horn Island. Okay. So the Jackson County Sheriff, what should they be liable for? Okay. We would let this keep cooking. I don't know if that video that we shared last week, because it was allegedly of them headed to Judge Ashley House, but I will pray that had nothing to do with Nolan's case. Okay. I'm just saying. So, under the Mississippi state law, the local sheriff holds primary criminal investigation jurisdiction over the citizens and land boundaries of the county, extending to the coastal shorelines. Okay, so they can investigate it. Okay, but I don't think they have the resource. Maybe they do. This Epstein where they got the resources. Moving forward. So the lead agency status, because Nolan was reported missing after a day on the island, Jackson County officials was designated to lead the agency. Isn't that who she called? This gross negligence. They don't even know who's in charge of what. The jurisdiction handoff. Local news enforcement handled the missing person report, interviews, witness, and map timeline. If the local sheriff uncovered evidence or established a high probability that the missing individual entered the water, they must issue a formal request to the Coast Guard to initiate a maritime search. Who initiated the maritime search? Who? Put it in the comments. Warren. Why? He talked to two mindful adults. I don't know what they told him about, but baby, he sure enough called the right people. Right? Right? So, getting to the third layer of this, who wasn't reported probably till later on, is the National Park Service. Compounding the jurisdiction overlap on Horn Island itself, because it's part of the Gulf Island National Shoreline, the land is federally protected wilderness managed by the National Park Service. It's federal protected wilderness. So you telling me somebody missing on there, you're not going to go the same day? Or maybe because the ball was dropped. Go ahead and Crump. Put them all in the same lawsuit. Just pile it up. Pile it up. Gross negligence. This is a place that people go to all the time. How has they not set up some jurisdiction over here? This is a place, Horn Island, that they allegedly was having for sale last year, trying to sell it. I think I took it off the screen. But yeah, I took it off by price, so I can show y'all next time. All right, so these are the reasons for the delay. And as you know, there was misstatements that said that allegedly the Cajun Nation, sorry y'all, you know I got jokes, it ain't the Navy. The Cajun Nation found Nolan, and they did not. It was the National Parks, okay, Service. It was one of the representatives there that found him, okay? So I just wanted to highlight some of these things. Let Mama Christine finish cook. But are we getting a bigger picture of what happened that night, of the mishap? Who is possibly liable? The gross negligence of people who, I'm not over there, but we pay our tax money too. Yeah, right. I ain't over there, but somebody pay taxes to them.
Like I said, we docked the boat, got out the boat, walked on the island. She had a whole conversation with her grandmother on the island. Got back on the boat, went back around the island. I guess that would be the north side, facing the Gulf of Mexico. I get another phone call. So my phone worked fine. So this whole thing about not having phone service, I don't know. I don't know if it's the carrier or what, but ours worked fine.
So if they were on the water with Nolan phone or on land, that phone was possibly ringing. But she said she called a little bit before, and she don't remember the time. She called around 8. So you think she called while they was on the boat? Do you think she called Mama Instincts while they were on the boat? Because the boat didn't park till 7:19. And after that, 45 minutes later, Mama was calling.
I think that was around maybe 8 o'clock.
Yeah, because he finished up around.
Who was it? Jackson County or the?
Yeah, Jackson County Sheriff.
Finally showed up.
Yeah.
A couple of boats, they finally showed up.
So they're talking about the next day. This is the next day, okay?
By that time, I was like, he's not out here. I was more focused that he was at someone's house.
That was the
So, that's where my hopes and feelings were. So we left. The county stayed out there. My friend, he stayed out there because he called. He's like, well, we're going to stay out here a little bit longer. I said, okay, I appreciate it. So we leave. Then I would say maybe a couple hours later, my friend calls me back, and he said, well, we're going to give it and go, but he said, look, I can gas the boat back up, and if you want to go back out there, we can go back out there.
Now, I'm going to show y'all something else. Check this out. This is Horn Island. I'm still learning about, radius and all that stuff and miles, but this is Horn Island. And it's what I was asking, because I think they did a better job looking for Nolan than anybody else. The last slide, we brought up the fact that when the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources finally got to drop their drone later on in the afternoon, probably like 1 o'clock or so, because the first launch didn't work well. The battery overheated. It's just so, to me, spiritual warfare. I'm praying for Mama Christine. They coming after us, okay? So, what that goes to say, it says because Horn Island is roughly 4.2 square miles in total area, stretching about 10 miles long, it's 10 miles long, only zero point 0.1 square mile grid was searched. This means the drone only scanned 2.3% of the island total landmass. That means Mama Grace went to bed and I almost passed out. Okay. Inland area, exactly 64 acres, equivalent to roughly 48 football fields arranged in the block. This is a visual picture of zero point 0.1 square miles. It's like 48 football fields. You football fans, figure it out. On Horn Island, because the island is very narrow, the average only zero point 0.1 to 0.45 miles across. So it's like a half a mile across. In some areas, it's zero point 0.1. Oh my goodness. Go look at the guess on this picture where is 0.1. You gonna tell me that's where the plane flew? What were they really looking for Nolan? It's a little weird to me. So on Horn Island, because the island is very narrow, average only zero point 0.1 to 0.45 miles wide, zero point 0.1 square mile grid would only cover a small strip of beach, roughly about 240 yards long. Okay. Who did a good job? Mississippi Department of Marine Rescue? Do we got to go get the manual? What is the procedure? Don't even know how to use the drones right. Didn't realize it was hot as all hell and they could have tried another way. I'm going to move forward. Why is this measurement so under scrutiny right now? First, the first flight scanned just only a tiny amount of zero point 0.1 square miles grid near the boat last known position. That's Warren's boat. I mean, Wyatt's boat, or the boats that was around, because obviously we know it was at least three. First, I got to two we read the report that it was now it's three. It's just more and more boats. That means that it's more and more witnesses. But as I talk about the witnesses, this is all I'm going to say because I made a post on it. Don't believe the hype, in my opinion. It's been well over a month and a half, and you're now just getting two witnesses to say they saw Nolan. Prominent. You know, we all stick together here. I'm not even going to play with y'all like that. Because if somebody knew or saw Nolan after that, y'all want them boys free. Y'all want them boys free. That's the first thing you would have said. Nope. There's about 4 or 5 people that saw Nolan directly at this time. Pictures of Katie Nunn came out allegedly, and I haven't talked about it a lot because I want to verify some stuff of her after 5 p.m. partying somewhere. With pictures of Nolan. They had enough service to take pictures of Katie and to take pictures of the boys who was allegedly boat was going down. Who the hell take pictures when somebody boat flooded? Y'all talk about us putting cameras in people's face. Somebody boat is flooding. What is the procedure? Let's take a picture. That's what they do, allegedly. All right. So the short and inadequate search for me. So the cancellation, rather than bringing it back, backup equipment or waiting for batteries to cool, NDR cancel all further drone flights for the day. Gross negligence, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I just like the research. I'm a legal nurse and consultant. I like the research in the back, liabilities. Okay. You go to, then hold up, y'all, because somebody answered this. Someone, okay, so this is another thing we got to address as well. Someone said the statement came out. I don't want you guys getting in trouble saying that Judge Ashley was on this island. As I mentioned, I do believe that Warren called her in the middle of the conflict or whatever was going on. But then it is a video that's out that's allegedly his mother, real mother was on the island. Someone under my comments said mom was on the island for 10 minutes. I said, what? So you drive 4 hours. Hold on. When did they get there? No, 2 hours. They left at 9, 10, 11. 2 hours. Correct that. 2.5 hours to stay for 10 minutes? Or did they come on a helicopter because they Epstein? So y'all be careful with the information y'all share and make sure that it's pertinent. Okay. I don't, we'll visit that on another day, but this is what I wanted to highlight about just that was just a sidebar. This is what I wanted to highlight about the location, how Horn Island look, the most I can find out about the square foot miles, giving y'all some type of description. And zero point 0.1 is like that little tip right here. Okay, the biggest they said going across is a half a mile, and I would say in the middle will be that half a mile. They did nothing. Okay, so let's finish. Go back to the interview with mom, and then we're going to get into the last part of the interview with Ben Crump because it was some interesting questions that I want us to listen to. Okay, please hit the like button. Thank you for being here with Miss Grace as we did deep dive on these cases and we cook on the truth. Okay, because we have to control the narrative by telling the truth and making sure legacy media don't fall for the BS so they could discredit us. Okay.
I said, I don't want to go back out to the island. I have a feeling that he's not there, and I don't want to go back to the island. So he offered, said, well, if you do, we can go right now. I said, don't worry about it. I appreciate you coming out there. But he said at that time that helicopters were out there, more Coast Guard, more people were out there. Mm-hmm. So we get back on land, and as far as the keys, what was that night? What was it?
That was that night.
That was the night the call. Okay, let me back up. As far as getting the car back, after we gave our report to Jackson County, the sheriff department that night, we were trying to figure out who to get a report to. We had a friend in the family that located his phone. Mm-hmm. We wasn't there to get the phone, but apparently there was some kind of friction getting his phone. Yeah. We don't know what the friction was.
So the phone and the key were at the same location, which was Jack's house.
So that's why, like I said, it got turned up the second time, because the first time they were trying to give her friend possibly some trouble, and the second time when Dad showed up with Nolan's friends, they had to call a popo because they were trying to kick down the door. They were trying to kick down the door. You damn right. We gonna fight hard for our righteous young men. Okay, but just to add on one key point about the 0.1 square foot mile is so weird. This is weird, guys. On the morning of July 6th, 2 days after his vanish, the National Park Service ranger discovered Nolan Wells approximately 8:45 a.m. on the 6th. He was found allegedly face down in the water just offshore along the northwest shore point. We'll look at that on another day. Now, this is what's a little bit crazy, okay? I wanted to know the area that was looked at by the drones. Was that the area Nolan Wells' body was located? Allegedly, according to my findings, yes. Exactly where the drones flew over, Nolan Wells' body was in that vicinity. Proximity to last known position, Nolan Wells was found on the northwest tip, which is the exact same vicinity where he was last seen alive at 3 p.m. on July 4th, where his friend's boat was anchored. All right. Also, like I mentioned, that's where they looked for Nolan, over the area where he was last seen. So allegedly, the battery overheated and they abruptly stopped it for the whole day. It's weird. It's weird. I'm just saying. Am I thinking too much here? Okay. So the core controversy, the fact that Nolan's body was recovered right where the search initially began, I do apologize, yet took nearly 40 hours later, fueling the family deep skepticism over the official narrative. Because Mississippi Department of Marine Rescue drone flight failed to spot him during the brief zero point 0.1 square mile sweep on July 5th. Investigators are left with the critical unresolved timeline gap. My question is, do MDMR have video camera of their search? That's what I'm saying. Can we get the video camera of that little zero point 0.1 square mile, and it abruptly just shutting off, overheating? Can we get the video? I just got some questions here. Tell me, am I off?
Okay.
And again, all of these kids share their locations on Snapchat. And so she was like, hey, I can go pick his phone up, not thinking that his car is there, which she stopped everything she was doing. Her and the boys, they went out. Like, we were all out searching for him that night. And yeah, like Elmore was saying, there was an issue, some type of friction. The cops ended up coming, and
because they was scared to tell you. They was about to kick down the door, waving the 4-4, looking for Nolan. Yes, just like we're doing right now, kicking down all doors, waving our 4-4. That's our mind, trying to figure out what happened to Nolan. Hit the like button, please. We're going to be cooking here tonight. Y'all know what I do on my deep dives. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. And yeah, we'll be here for about 2.5 hours. Let's go.
they left. And so then kind of the same thing when we came to pick up the key. Elmore went up there asking for the key, didn't know where the key was, and all of a sudden we know where the key is.
But see, but see this, and this is another thing that bothered me. So when we got to the house, you know, it was some of his other friends were there, you know, and they were, you know, beating on the door like, "What Nolan there? What Nolan there?" You know, beating on the door trying to get in the house. So I walk up to the door and I'm calming them down, because for one, okay, you're loud. Two, you're in these people's house. So if you tear these people's house up, this could be a whole nother issue. I don't want y'all bothering it. And three, I need you guys to calm down, and I need them to kind of trust me as being an adult so I can get something out of them. So I get them out the house, and then Jax finally comes down the stairs, I guess in the room, hair all messed up like he just woke up, whatever. I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. His car's outside. I need to get his car and all his personal effects that may be left over here. And he goes, oh man, Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go and get everything of his so I can get his car?
And I told y'all better listen to context clues talking about Nolan was like my brother. I mean, don't like it. Y'all know watching them investigators movie what they say, where he was like, she was just amazing when she was alive. That's close to just saying that. Was just a good person, yeah.
Go home. She walks off. 2 or 3 minutes later, come back. I don't see the keys. Okay. So I leave out the house, go back outside, stand by the car. During that time, one of the guys that was in the house, one of the other friends, he was on the phone with a girl who was apparently there with them earlier that day. And she was telling him that his keys was on top of the Xbox in his room. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and we're still out by the car. And lo and behold, here comes the keys. So now to me, you lied to me 3 times. I don't believe nothing that you tell me, from here on out.
And this is Jax.
This is Jax.
And eventually he does give you the keys.
Yeah, eventually give me
But there
the
was
keys.
friction getting the keys.
Yes. So from when you tell me my son is on left still on the island with a girl, 2, you have his phone, and 3, you don't give me the keys when I ask. I don't know any father who would believe, just if one of my friends did that. I'm gonna be cordial with you, but I'm gonna watch you. And
Ben, I want to ask you, because I'm hearing these 2 parents who essentially had to become search and rescue or law enforcement, looking for their own child with such a lack of urgency on behalf of law enforcement. Obviously, we're talking to Black journalists. We can't ignore the ugly racial history of Mississippi. I looked into the demographics of the Jackson County Sheriff Department. It's quite asymmetrical, but also just the general attitude and the lack of value when it comes to Black life. Does this sound like a normal process for when an 18-year-old goes missing to you? What holes have you seen in your looking into this case?
Tiffany, that was the question that Christine and Elmore had when they first called us. They wanted the truth of what happened to their 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells. And they had concerns whether they were going to get a fair and impartial investigation. And from that day to this one, it has been the same objective, to have truth, transparency, and find out what happened to Nolan. They said we want a thorough investigation because when they found Nolan, they expressed to me that the sheriff had already said no foul play. And they was like, no, my son, he knows how to swim. Our son is a college athlete. Our son is in great shape. We don't believe that he just drowned and nobody knows nothing. Nobody saw nothing. I mean, there are about 300, 400 people on the island. And so that's what they were saying. We want to know what happened. We want truth. We want transparency. We don't want his death to be swept under the rug.
All right, we're going to stop right there because I let that cook for a while. The most important part that you can take out of this clip is that Mama Christine called 3 times before Warren called her. Okay? And it looks like he called the Coast Guard first before calling Mama Christine, allegedly. I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just go to the last part of Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton's meeting that they had the other day, because I think for me the most important part was some of the questions that they asked at the end. Y'all have some good questions, so we're going to listen to that and then we're going to keep cooking. All right, we're going to be moving on into our next part of this. We got a lot to share. Hope you're learning a lot. Let's go. This guy, and I'm gonna beat Al Sharpton. I don't even know if I got this right now, but he literally said this ain't a revival. We ain't gonna be here all afternoon. I said I am not messing with this old skinny neck, skinny body. I love you, Al. What happened to the thickness? He said this ain't gonna be no revival all day. Okay, let's play this real quick. Sorry.
I think that the race politics of this case has been the reaction. I think that we're not predetermining that the case was racial. We're determining that the answer, the investigation, has been racially divided, and that's what made it racist. Yeah, I take 2 more. This is a press. I'm not a revival. We're not going to be here all afternoon.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When I first heard that, I started cracking up like, come on. You know, we be trying it. You know you love us black. You know you love black people. We always make the best out of something. He said, this ain't no revival.
I know so the deal out voice. In particular, piggyback on what President Trump said, is it the fact that this happened in Mississippi why it seems to be so difficult to get answers in regards to the young white man's death?
Did you say Trump or rather than Crump? I'm just trying to. Yeah, we're praying for you at the prayer meeting.
Oh, sorry. I'm so done with him. To my favorite, highly favorite. Remember, don't pray for me. Let's go. That's an inside joke.
I want to keep an open mind. I know there have been several attacks on us just for asking questions, and it's okay. I mean, when you think about Mississippi, they attacked all my heroes. The governor's predecessors, they attacked, Ida B. Wells, Medgar Evers, my personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, Dr. Martin Luther King, for saying that we're going to stand up for black life and black humanity and the right to black people to have the Constitution applied to them as American citizens.
I'm not laughing at the content. I'm laughing at the comment. I do apologize. She said Al Sharpton looking like Biden right now. Yeah, looking a little But he still got his wits about him. That head looking a little big for the body, but he still got his wits. Okay, I'm gonna give it to him.
So I'm unapologetic in my defense of black life, black liberty, and black humanity. God has a calling on all our lives. And when you figure out what that calling is, you don't second guess it. You say, God, I know why I put on this earth, to be there to stand up for our people in times when they have nobody else to stand up for them. And so whether
I appreciate you. Don't worry. Don't explain to them why you do what you do. They just trying to knock you off your position, Ben. Okay, as we mentioned, we know he part of the boule and little thing like that, but baby, he getting the job done a little bit. We need some good representation, obviously. Okay.
it's Mississippi or anywhere else in the deep south, or as Malcolm X said, I heard they discriminate against black people in the South. He said, I guess my definition of the South would be anything beneath the Canadian border, because last time I checked, they discriminate against black people all across America. And so
The whole America is the South right now.
what we're saying is we are open-minded. We want to trust them, but we can't be naive. We have to verify everything, as Attorney Hurt said. Whatever conclusions you come to, we want the methodology. Whatever investigation you're doing, we want to know that it's the same investigation that you would do with your child, not treat Nolan any differently. That's what we're trying to do. That's all we're asking.
All right, we're going to take one more, and then we have to take the family out. Jesse Jackson Jr., who has his own radio show.
I represent KDLA.
Over there broadcasting, you out there sending infomercials out.
Let me ask a question, Reverend Jonathan.
It's a good.
Do you want to change your life today?
It's a good question coming up, guys. Okay, it's the reason why we watching this. Okay, don't worry, got you.
Nolan Wells's body was found on federal territory, Horn Island, run by the National Park Service. Are you aware of any death investigation opened up by the National Park Service into his death on federal land? First question, actually two parts. There have been 7 arrests made for the swimming pool, also run by the National Park Service. Why the disparity between arrests over the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial and 0 arrests, subpoenas regarding the National Park Service in the case of Nolan?
The answer, and I have the lawyer's answer, is that is why we raised it, thanks to the CBC and Congresswoman, to a federal level, because the federal government has to answer those questions of involvement, because Horn Island is federal property. And while they can have a grand jury indict around the reflection pool, then announce they're pulling back the charges, now have with a new special grand jury. They done went to a pool twice and haven't come to Horn Island one time, and it was federal property. So I think that the contradiction there is why we keep raising the question.
And also, too, as a matter of record, you know, being in Congress, there is federal oversight. And I sit on Judiciary Committee in Congress. We also have the Senate Judiciary Committee. And oftentimes there are a lot of these kinds of investigations that come before us because we have the authority for oversight. So since this is considered, at this point, would be considered something of national federal interest, that is the reason why we're asking for the accountability to make sure that this is not just swept under the rug.
And I'll say in conclusion, thank you to the media. Now more than ever, the 4th branch of government, we need you. NABJ, we need you now more than ever. We're talking about Nolan Wells, but remember, there were 2 other 18-year-old black teenagers who were unalive in highly questionable situations. Tyler Smith and David Irvin.
And we're going to be following up on a few of these out-of-pocket cases, okay? Now, what I want to move on to and just share with you guys a little bit about the federal jurisdiction, the law, and what to possibly expect, okay? Because they should have been on this like kryptonite, but you know how it is. they're still trying to figure out how to deal with us as Black Americans. All we're not. How can I say? Hmm. The laws don't apply to us unless they wanted to apply to us. Okay. And what that goes to say, anytime that we're involved in something, it's different measures that they take to figure out how they're going to deal with us. And a lot of the times we get the short end of the stick unless someone big make it a big controversy, or like in this situation, you have the legacy media that's pushing the narrative for truth. Now, as he talks about federal jurisdiction, let's talk about it. All right, let's get to it. The law mandating an internal framework governing the U.S. Coast Guards. Okay, so that's part of the federal jurisdiction. As far as I think the feds need to look into the Coast Guard response when they were made aware. Also, they need to look into the Mississippi Recovery Unit, okay, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, and see exactly how they handled the initial call because it's very important. So, what this goes to say, when a missing person or is reported, this is related to federal law 14 U.S. Code 102 and 521. Look it up, which explicitly mandate the USCG to maintain and operate resources facilities for saving lives and property. The technical legal manual that guides every step of the United States National Search and Rescue Supplement and the United States Coast Guard. This is in both of their manuals, and I'm going to get the manual, look to see what else they didn't do. Okay, but this is a summary. If a missing person is reported at sea, the USCG must legally adhere to a strict 5-stage framework. United States National Search and Rescue. The reason why I bring that up is because it was about a 13-hour delay. It was a national park. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources or the Coast Guard should have sound the alarms, in my opinion. Okay, so let's move forward. Phase 1. 5 minutes evaluation and risk assessment. By law, the search and rescue mission coordinator or the designated search or rescue mission manager must process, evaluate, and classify any receiving distress report within 5 minutes of notification. 5 minutes. Assessing emergency phases under the updated USCG policy, operators no longer make automatic phase assumption. They evaluate the report to classify it into one of 3 standard emergency phases: uncertain, overdue vessel, alert vessel experiencing difficulties or distress, immediate danger to life. Being on an island, no electricity, no water, no bathroom, no lights, 18 years old is not an emergency. Phase 2, information gathered, the timeline building. And this is what the United States Coast Guard was supposed to do. Before deploying the craft blindly, responders must complete the official initial SAR checklist. Okay. Freedom of information request to build a profile of the missing individual. When was this done, guys? This includes collecting data on the missing person, exact number of people missing, age, health condition, swimming, maritime experience. Environmental context. This is what they're supposed to evaluate. This is the original checklist that the U.S. Coast Guard is supposed to do. They were made aware at 11 o'clock at night by Warren. Remember that. Environmental context. This is what they're supposed to evaluate. The last time they saw him, the coordinates, location, last seen. What was his planned destination? No one was planning to stay on that island. So they should have knew, wait, you just gonna stay on the island? Where Katie? What a girl. Oh, they didn't know who Katie was because they gave the wrong name that night. Also, they needed to know the clothing and swimming, what they were wearing. And Warren said he was wearing black pants. And then you have to verify, because I haven't seen the picture. Nancy Grace saw the picture. But Nolan Wells was allegedly fully dressed when they found him. Can somebody correct that? Hmm? Okay, these are just we got questions here. Phase 3 of this response that's federally mandated by the U.S. Coast Guard. Phase 3, the U.S. Coast Guard does not guess where to look. They utilize search and resource optimal planning system, a powerful geopolitical computer system. See, I told y'all somebody was taking pictures. We got to see where they looked. Environmental draft calculation integrates live data from the NOAA regarding real time ocean current, wind velocity, water temperature, and sea state to draft a mathematical search grid box. Okay, make it make sense. Sound like what they're supposed to be doing. Did that get done? The cold exposure to measure human endurance. What was the temperature? Because you know it get cold on the island. This is what I'm saying. It was not a medical emergency. It was emergency. So that's why I think they should get in trouble. Somebody should be held liable for the 13-hour delay in searching for him. Okay. So this is what they were supposed to do: mathematical problems, get the sonars out there and everything, and they supposed to evaluate it based on a checklist. First 5 minutes, they were supposed to assign emergency phase, say to see if it was uncertain, alert, was it distress? Distress mean in that immediate danger. All right. So what else? A little bit more. Phase 4. Asset activation, multi-agency coordination. Once the search grid is locked in, and it should have been probably by no later than 1 o'clock in the morning, because they get a call at 11. I'm giving you 60 minutes. I gave you 120 minutes. What is the procedure? And why I talk like this, guys? Because I'm a nurse. And when I'm at my nursing floor, I don't care what's going on. We have to follow procedure. No emotion. Handle it. What is the procedure? Let's go. Once the search grid was locked in, the command enter triggers, the deployment was supposed to happen. Asset type. Responder utilized a combination of HC-130 aircraft for wide grid sweeps. Y'all look this up. Eurocopter MH-65 Dolphins for low altitude spotting and response boat. They could have been out there with this like dolphin equipment. Because Nolan didn't go far because they found him close to where the last time they saw him in the 0.1 square foot mile radius that was looked at the day before, allegedly, and the battery went hot. Phase, okay, so night and subsurface operation. This is what part of phase 4, okay? They could have did it at night, baby. Aircraft are legally required to employ forward-looking infrared cameras, night vision goggles, and surface search radar. If a swimmer is lost in shallow water, the Coast Guard immediately coordinates with the local sheriff diving unit to execute spotted dives at the last point. Who went diving? Did they have divers there? Gross neglect. Gross negligence. Let's say that correctly, in my opinion. Phase 5. The legal suspension of the search. Battery overheated, no backup battery, 0.1 square miles. It's disgusting. They looked at the tip, and that tip is where the body was found. Where his body? Let's keep it real. The decision to call off the search is the most heavy litigated or legal step in the menu. The Coast Guard never officially declares a missing person dead. Instead, they legally transition the case file to active search suspension pending further development. Execution of the scenario. A search can only be suspended if a survival model is detected that is zero statistic chance the person is alive. Not because your battery overheated. You were supposed to keep going because there was no detection that he wasn't alive, or maybe you stopped it right there because y'all found his body the day before, allegedly. I'm just saying. Family liaison. mediation. Federal guidelines mandate that the USCG maintains direct communication with the family throughout the multi-day operation, multi-day or hour or two. The SMC must hold an active, transparent conversation with the missing person family, detailing the mathematical constrictions before the final ACTSUS. That means the active search suspension pending further development. They were supposed to talk to Nolan Wells' family before they stopped the search that day. Did they? Gross negligence. Gross negligence. So just to confirm, Nolan was discovered at 8:40 a.m. on Monday, July 6th, resting allegedly face down on the shore northwest tip. The location detail and their connections to the boat path highlight several key aspects of the timeline: the physical location and environment, the washing machine current. Locals and marine experts noted that the northwest point where Nolan was located sits right on a threshold drop off. It is characterized by a strong circulation undertone. Okay, frequently referred to as the washing machine current. So maybe turn people boats around. So wherever they dropped Nolan off at, or wherever he drowned, it brought him right back around to the same place. Does that make sense? So the washing machine current may be the reason why he was right back in the same location. The roll around, the trip around the barrier island. Okay, so the last sighting correlates. This exact tip matches the area where the teenager claimed Nolan was last seen at 3 p.m. But we know the contradiction statement that they said that they left Horn Island at 4:30, and then we already know that Toad was called at 3:58. Right? Right? Are we on the same page here? What? What's going on? We just leave all of these questions? Ain't nobody suspect here? Now y'all know y'all be watching police investigations like me, like first 40 hours, 48 hours. They be grilling them. No grilling? So somebody tell the truth? That's why we're grilling them. Now we're gonna get into a little bit of the boat. I was gonna get into the prosecutor a little bit. As we know, just the highlight. I guess we're gonna get into the boat. Y'all want to get into the prosecutor? It's just small. Y'all know what the prosecutor is saying. She ain't saying nothing. Basically, it is a controversy over the phone right now. Oh my God, where is Nolan's phone? We know where his phone is, where his mama and the lawyers, because you can't be trusted. Allegedly, they said same time. What is the controversy? Oh my God, where is Nolan's phone? That's where mom was trying to figure out when she was calling since 6, 7, 8, 10:58. What she said, 10:48. I wasn't worried about that phone then. Don't be worried about it now. So the timeline and the controversy, as of August the 12th, and I don't think that they did anything because ain't nobody playing with these people anymore. 48-hour deadline controversy surrounding the Nolan Wells cell phone. Okay, it's escalating right now. August 12th at 11:51, the district attorney office sent a sudden letter to the family to deliver Nolan Wells' phone to the local law enforcement. Y'all see my face? Oh, hell no. I would not give it to none of them. They didn't even say take it to the FBI. What? Moving forward, August 14th at 9 a.m., the DA designated deadline gives the family less than 48 hours to comply. The conflict: Nolan parents were out of state when the notice arrived and could not return before the cutoff. Local investigators and the attorney representing Nolan Wells quickly seized on the missing deadline, publicly announcing the family is refusing to cooperate with law enforcement. They're not refusing. They said same time. You just wanted on your time to possibly, I'm going to shut up. Y'all know what we thinking. Trust no one. Show me the evidence. That's all I'm saying. Trust no one. We're going to all sit at the same time. And that's legal. So The family defense shifts the protocol. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump and the local counsel, Mr. Smith, immediately pushed back. They countered that the 48-hour ultimatum was a bad faith ambush that violated the agreement established on July 15th. According to the family legal team, both sides had previously agreed joint forensic examination. Oh my God, where's Nolan phone? That's why I says don't be falling for the propaganda. Nobody want to hear all, oh my God, breaking news. Breaking news. It ain't nothing breaking till somebody get locked up. Sorry. Frustrating me. Going through all these damn videos and y'all keep saying the same thing. I'll be listening to y'all. I'll be like, "Nigga, some of y'all just be making up stuff. Come on. I love y'all. We gotta do a little bit better." So the goal here was a joint examination. They want to look at the chain of make sure the chain of custody is like aligned so it can be used as evidence to make sure a lot of people don't touch the phone. So I would assume it's locked up in Crump office. The scope of the examination ensure the extraction maps strictly to July 4th events. Preservation and access. Guarantee both state and family independent experts receive the exact same digital extraction data simultaneously. So please cut it out. Talking about where's Nolan phone? Y'all know you know where it's at. Okay, let's keep it a buck. Now let's move forward. We still have these questions. Why did Nolan Wells enter the water? Why and how? Why and how? This is the questions that we need to be answering. What was the body position when it was found? Allegedly face down. Allegedly. We want to know was it water in the lungs? I'm hearing that it wasn't allegedly, but until I see official documents, I'm not putting it in my deep dive yet. Was there water in the airway? If y'all have the official documents, let me know. But I'm going to be looking for it. It might probably our next live. Is there evidence of injury to the front of Nolan's neck? Why is the throat missing? Is there evidence of a brain bleed? Y'all remember I kept saying brain bleed. I don't think it was a brain bleed because brain bleeds are usually not isolated to a certain area. A blood vessel buzz, it's like a splash. And then the blood goes different areas and then it clot up. And then it blocks different airways. I mean, well, not airways. I do apologize. Different pathways in your brain lose circulation, and that's how you have a stroke. But I don't think that's what happened here. I don't think he had enough trauma to the back of his head to have a brain bleed. But again, I showed you guys on what I think may have happened because Caucasian people, tell me I'm lying. Y'all like to wrestle. Y'all like to put people in headlocks and shit. I don't understand. I don't like it. It doesn't make it's dangerous. You know, let's pass them out. Y'all do it for fun. I don't understand. Even as a healthcare provider, I'm like, yeah, I know I could bring them back, but I don't even want to pass them out. So what I'm thinking is what I mentioned that 4x12 was someone holding him and putting him in a sleeper. You see that with the pressure? Because what I've learned from the occipital, that's how they put him to sleep. Now look at the back of your head is the occipital. Let's talk a little bit, A&P. This is your sleep center. So when you get a little bit too drunk, is your sleep and breathing center too. Your respiration goes down and you become sleepy. It's in the occipital area. This is where you can get passed out. That's why they push on the occipital area of the back to pass somebody out. Because I was like, damn, how do they really do that choking stuff? And they don't like I really try to figure out how the Caucasian people do this because y'all play too much. I don't like that shit. But if your arm is not totally around, like really tight, but enough to mess cartilage up because you can, and then you have your other arm in the back of him, putting pressure, and his head just dropped. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, they got these videos that allegedly now Nolan may have gotten to a controversy. I've been saying this since day one. This place was full of fighting and drinking for 6 hours from day one of my deep dive. Mama Grace didn't like it. But that is completely opposite from Nolan's character. Now, I can't say, when you drink, the spirits come out. You react a little different. It is what it is. But for him to come to be described as this type of person, so nice, a person that like stop fights and things, to him to be involved in a fight, do you think Nolan would have been the initiator? Especially highlighting where they were talking about give me back my freaking phone. And the phone was on the boat. And allegedly Wyatt took the phone off the boat and put it in his truck, according to Warren in his interview. The boat was docked at 7:19. Mama Wells was calling before 7, after 8, and 10:48, according to the interview we just watched. Parents, we're all purple here. We're not black, we're not white. We're purple. Does this sound right? Do it sound right? No. So, second autopsy couldn't prove if it was a brain bleed or anything. First autopsy, I don't even know if they mentioned it. Very important, as I mentioned early in the autopsy video, the stomach contents. His stomach was missing. There was a reason why. It's missing. It's part of one of the vital organs that would give you the timeline of his death. If he actually died before 3 o'clock, at around 3:30, before he got in the water, maybe water would have been in his stomach and his lungs, but the stomach is missing as well. Don't forget, because that would have gave us a significant timeline. Y'all watch those Inspector movies. Y'all watch first 48 hours like me. Stomach. And the toxicology findings, and it's gonna be liquor. It's gonna be liquor. Everybody was drinking it. Everybody was fucked up here. Everybody. This was the social norm. So for them to think just because somebody has liquor in their system that's gonna close the case or make it accidental. Okay, what's the scenario to make it accidental? We need some events. We need the people who saw Nolan after 5. So now they're suspect. Who's the 2 witnesses? Let us know who the witnesses so we could get on your ass too. You saw him. You saw him after 5 o'clock. And then he ended up in the water. Yeah. That's the questions I have. All right. Let's keep it moving. Thank you for being here with Miss Grace. We're an hour and a half. We're cooking. We're going to do 2.5 hours. Please hit the like button. Let's get in the comments. Let's go. I know I ain't going over y'all heads. Let's go. Cajun Navy with their old BS story. Let's get into the Cajun Navy a little bit. I've been trying to ignore my man because I don't want to defame anybody or kind of like downplay because they got skills. But baby, something ain't right here. Okay? Something ain't right with the way you moving. Let's go.
The mom requested the help of the United Cajun Navy, a nonprofit organization that provides disaster relief. I'm Israel Salas Rodriguez, senior news reporter at the U.S. Sun. Thanks again for joining us. Make sure to click that like and subscribe button to stay tuned for more reports like this one.
We're going to watch a few minutes of him, okay?
Us now is Josh Gill, the Cajun Navy's incident coordinator for the search and rescue for Nolan. Josh, thank you so much for joining us. Can you just introduce yourself to our audience?
Josh Gill. I'm from Louisiana. I'm the incident commander for the United Cajun Navy.
For just $67, you can generate as many videos.
Come on, man. All right, hit the like button.
How long have you been with the organization?
Been with the organization on and off since its inception. Really been instrumental in the role for a couple years now.
And shifting over to the Nolan Wells case, can you describe the water conditions surrounding Horn Island for those of us who are not familiar with the area?
Sure. So Horn Island's off the coast of Mississippi. Believe about 10 miles off the coast. It's 100.
So remember the swirl thing. So if they didn't go too far and something happened with Nolan, that's why his body came back.
44 square mile island. It's pretty big. It's a location that's in the Gulf of Mexico / Gulf of America, whichever nomenclature you want to use.
Can you walk us through the timeline from the moment that Nolan was reported missing?
Sure. So to the best of my knowledge, again, I didn't get a call till that next day. As I appreciate, late that evening, Nolan was on the beach. The vessel that he came with left. And from there, We don't know what happened, right? Again, I'm just a volunteer. I'm running volunteer operations. I'm not law enforcement. So what happened really isn't what I'm looking for. What I look for a search is that last known location, and then specifics about the area or specifics about the person. Knowing that northwest corner of Horn Island was what we call the LKL last.
And he was out there that next day too. That's why I had the report. I probably could look through it, but I'm trying to cook on some other stuff. I've been trying to ignore this man because we can't sue him. You know, he ain't legally tied to nothing. But baby, you had a lot of equipment out there that day. And you didn't find him. You did not.
Known location. From there, we looked at the weather conditions, tidal conditions, wind conditions to come up with a plan, come up with a grid on what we could do.
Now, who was supposed to be doing that, y'all? The United States Coast Guard. I told you out of 5 steps that they were supposed to be doing. At least he doing. He was like, first we had to come up with the calculations and stuff. These sound about right. I'm gonna give you that respect. I told you they smarter than me when it comes to this. I just think connections is what makes me feel suspect. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I ain't gonna lie. Caucasian America, y'all gonna stick together, right or wrong. That's why I said black people. That's what we be falling apart sometimes. They stick together, right or devilish wrong. And I'm gonna just move forward. Not all of them, not everybody, not all of the Caucasians, okay, but most of them stay on code.
In 30 to 45 minutes of when I got notification of him missing from the family and then from the mother, we had surface vessels, that's boats, that were in the area starting to search.
He was better than I'm gonna give it to you, man. You was better than the Coast Guard. That's why I say I was gonna leave him alone because I think he's suspect. But the way he describes stuff is more detailed and more with the law from what I have researched.
Also had 2 drones that were in the air, as well as boots on the ground on the island doing a manual walk to look for Nolan there. That next day, yesterday, we had at daylight 4 vessels, 2 more people, as well as a fixed wing aircraft in the air that started 6:15-ish, 6:30.
And when Nolan's mom did reach out to you, what was her tone like? Did she give you any information that could help in the search?
Oh, absolutely. So, and again, you can understand the frantic. She was frantic. She wanted to know everything that was going on, and what we could do to provide resources, what we could do to help her find her son. I mean, that's issue number 1: find Nolan. But again, she was, with everything that was going on, Miss Christine was extremely calm when she was providing that information. And I asked some very.
Hey, y'all, I'm not going to get to this that other interview today. We're going to get into the other interview with all the boys, and I don't know if that guy was his lawyer, but I can remember someone saying that these boys' boats was 50 feet away from like the island, and people swam in. I need you guys just to remember that because that's another focal point of a lie. Because I'm going to show you where allegedly the boats were parked at. I mean, they just make shit up. And these people are lawyers. That's why I say I know lawyers. They just throw shit at the wall. And if you going to take it and listen, they like, all right, that got through. They will even put a motion out there and put actual law that has nothing to do with the case. And then if the judge don't know or don't say anything, they thought they get away with it. This is what lawyers do. So that lawyer that was talking all this stuff about Bart and all this stuff, just highlight that he's a weirdo. And I move forward and I say, you're a fucking weirdo and a liar. Yeah.
Very tough questions. And I just wanted to make sure that, she understood all the questions that I ask are related to helping me find the location to search.
And when you and your team were on the ground, were you approached by any of maybe Nolan's friends that stayed in the area and that they provide any information to you guys?
It is an active and open investigation, so I'd rather not discuss the pieces and parts of who we had conversations with. I will say this is that
It better not been Grandpa Jerry.
um,
I'm just
I
saying.
don't believe any of the friends stayed.
And what did you know about Nolan's disappearance when you first got that call? Did you know of anything beforehand?
Just basic information, stuff that I gathered off of social media, as well as information from the mother. Nothing that was super relevant to finding Nolan or to searching for Nolan. Just information that he got left on the island.
Yeah, because she wasn't there. She couldn't tell you. She tried her best.
Left or he wasn't there, possibly, hopefully, and as we prayed that he may have made it onto another boat. So what we do is we gather information, right? We gather as much information as possible. We then blast it out to social media. We've got a huge following, and this one went extremely viral, to ask for help. The more people that see something, they could possibly say something. So we actually, at the time of him being found, we had people in the air, we had boats on the water, we had boots on the ground, on land, on the mainland as well, looking in 3 different locations where people had said he may have been seen that day, that evening before. Or that
They were all around that area with the world. That's what I'm saying. That whirlpool right around there with the body turned around allegedly. That's allegedly from my research. Nobody saw nothing. Nobody saw nothing until the National Park Rangers found his body the next day. It's weird. It's weird.
evening he came up missing. So we take into account everything, every tip, every, hey, go look here. We do that. We do it because we want to make sure we're providing all the resources that we possibly can, checking everything out, and letting the family know that, hey, every life matters to us. It doesn't matter race, creed, color, religion, nationality. I don't care. We want to make sure that every family understands we're putting every bit of effort into it.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. And thank you, Not a Bot, for bringing this up. Now we're going to get into the GPS data and get into the boat. We have an expert, TikTok expert. We're going to watch a few of her videos. Now, as you said, could the washing machine tide explain the reason they did not spot him one day, but they did the next day? The reason why I say no, because it was that little area. They have sonar detectors. It was coming from the Coast Guard had sonar. That guy from the Cajun Nation had sonar. Them damn drones can see in the water. I bet you they had something on those drones that allowed them to sonar the water. So if he drowned, was thrown into the water, he was around that location. And since it happened around July the 4th, why did it take 24 to 48 hours from July the 4th all the way to the 6th for him to actually wash back up? I remember when I was talking about the tide and things like that, it was like 24 to 48 hours, which is true. What it said related to my research, but there were too many people out there in that vicinity not to see nothing. So I appreciate what you're saying. But they had too much high tech equipment, even though some of them used it for like a hot minute. Yep, you're 100% right. No justice for the Epstein file, the January insurrection. Everybody can do what they want to do. We don't have an American Constitution that we follow. We don't follow the law. It is Project 2025. Thank you for that comment. Let's move forward. Let's get into the GPS, and then we're going to get into our boat specialist, TikTok specialist. Okay, I appreciate her because she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. So for information, educational purposes only. But before we get there, let's just look at this GPS data. If you like what Grace Levi is cooking, please hit the like button. Okay, I'm not monetized. I don't think I'll ever be monetized on YouTube because of our strained relationship. But what I do ask you is just to hit the like button, turn on your notifications, because Grace Levi, no matter what, if I'm getting paid or not, I'm telling, because I work for my Lord. And also, I'm going to do this before we go to our next session, because we do have sponsors. Okay, Black America, this is what you're gonna have to do. This is exactly what you're gonna have to do. Sponsor yourself.
Struggling to
Hit
break
the like
into the
button.
real estate market? The alternative real estate investment seminars are the game changer. Tired of traditional opportunities that seem out of reach or too mainstream to yield significant profits? Enter a smarter path with our expert-led seminars designed for aspiring investors eager to explore tax lien and deed investments. This platform offers tailored consultant services and detailed strategies for lucrative returns. Dive deep into expansive learning with on-demand real estate educational seminars and seize the moment to transform investment dreams into reality. Ready to unlock potential? Check us out today.
Yes, sir. Let's go. We are back. Shout out to Primetime Home Buyers. That's who sponsors this channel. Go get your learn on if you want to invest in real estate the alternative way. Okay. It is the alternative real estate investment platform where I teach you how to do your due diligence. Let's go. Obviously, y'all see I can do my due diligence, right? Let me get you in the real estate game. But before we do that, let's move forward. Okay. Now, this is the GPS daily tracking boat movement before Nolan Wells allegedly disappeared. Again, my main concern what was happening between 10 a.m., well, actually 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Fights, drinking. They also have a new side to Horn Island. Yeah, I went there. I was like, huh? It says there is a no close option area within the national seashore, and rangers will enforce regulation regarding public nudity. Just where you gonna send your kids? I know Mama Christine didn't know that shit was border. She ain't sent her baby for that. That's why they kept looking at, oh, Nolan, oh, Katie. This place was a hot mess. I don't care. We need some structure, some regulation. I don't care. Not with teenagers. Now, this is allegedly for Bayou Ramp. This is where the boat was docked that night. So let me correct that. This is where the boat was docked that night. I thought it was the picture where he was located at. We're going to try to figure out where they were located at on Horn Island when they got there around 11 a.m. Because according to the lawyer, everybody, what the heck went on my lip? Oh, don't do that to me. According, the hell is that? Okay. Sorry, it was dust. According to the lawyer on the interview with All Four Boys most recently, because I kind of skimmed it, they was like they were 50 feet away from the land because people was swimming in. That's a damn lie. I don't believe it. That's something that we got to look into, because 50 feet away from the land will probably put people more than neck deep because there's some drop offs, which is true. So I think that is not the truth. That's when I was just like, yo, he just throwing shit in the game. Just throwing stuff in the game. We're not just throwing stuff in the game. So this is where they were parked at night, okay, for Bayou when they docked the boat and then brought it on the island. So let me correct myself. So now let's get into our boating expert, Miss Bree. Okay. I was like, we're gonna have to find out about this boat because Miss Grace ain't an expert on that, but I'll give it to somebody who is. Let's see, is this it? That piece of dust made me feel not good. I don't like that. I'm bougie. Oh, it made me want to throw up. Okay, let's move forward. I'm sorry, guys. Something went in my mouth. All right, so this was the boat. Let's get to this. Sorry, y'all.
CETO Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Shout out to Bree, just Bree. I'm going to put her information down at the bottom so you guys can follow her.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd you say? Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down.
CETO Assistant,
Right,
Vicky
so
speaking.
Okay, so I'm doing this because she came in so strong and then decided to block me.
Hold on. Drama. I want to get more about the boat. Okay. Let me see what she was saying. She was saying a few things about the boat.
Oh my God, watch.
This is supposed.
Let's look closely.
This is supposed to be.
Two guys in front of guy on the sand are fighting out in the water. Now watch his feet go up.
Nah, I don't know if this is what they're trying to. I don't know if this possibly where they're trying to say Nolan Well had a fight, but let's just keep watching. This is at 3:30. I don't think that's Nolan. Who's that?
Let's look closely. Two guys in front of guy on the sand are fighting out in the water. Now watch his feet go up.
I will have to look at that very closely because I don't see nobody feet go up. I'm gonna be honest. Let's play this.
Let's look closely. Two guys in front of guy on the sand are fighting out in the water. Now watch his feet go up.
I don't see nobody fighting in the water, guys. So these are some of the things I wanted to look at because they saying that Nolan was probably in a fight, things like that. And I'm not saying that he was not in a fight, but I don't totally agree with that. Hold on. Let me switch to this. I think I have something else to show you about the boat. I thought I had more about the boat. Hold on. What is this? This is the phone.
Nolan Wells demanded, "Give me my freaking phone." New information that's come out from the family's lawyer, Ben Crump, says that there is video of an argument that was filmed shortly before Nolan went missing, where Nolan Wells demanded, "Give me my freaking phone." It says in this video, you can hear the argument going where Nolan is saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" Now, Nolan's parents went on Good Morning America this morning, where they gave a lot more details of their speculations, their accounts, their worries. Christine, his mother, talked about how when they finally tracked the phone and they received it, they noticed on his Snapchat, which Nolan has 2 accounts, that there was absolutely nothing. Christine accounts in this interview with Michael Strahan that was not who Nolan was. Nolan, everywhere he was going, was making videos, taking pictures, and on either of those 2 Snapchat accounts, there was absolutely nothing, and they thought that that was very odd. In a previous video, I talked about this judge who is the mother of one of the boys that were a friend, not a judge on the case. There's no case yet, but she put out this statement, basically a blanket statement saying that the reason that the boys went back without Nolan is because the boat was taking on water, yada, yada, yada. If you didn't realize in that video caption, I told you that I thought that it was bullshit. Now, here's the thing. The Jackson County Sheriff insists and keeps saying that there's no evidence of foul play. In fact, one of Nolan's friends, Jay Vaughn, actually did an interview. He says that this whole story is actually getting out of hand. However, he also says that investigators haven't even reached out to Jay Vaughn to ask him anything about Nolan at all, which is shocking, especially since he may have some insight on Nolan's relationship with the friends that he was on the island with.
And that's what I was saying. They should be asking every single person what happened throughout the day. It will possibly, highlight some conflict. Somebody was feeling away. And it's a lot of weaning out when it comes to witness. It should be. Now let's go back to TikTok real quick. I think I found some better videos. I thought I had them all together with the boat, but we're about to go look at some of these boat videos so we can get an idea on what the heck was Warren talking about. And the boat was filled with this. Okay, let's watch this.
Now I want you to look at this diagram carefully. We're talking about a 24-foot Triton, and what matters here is understand that what you see standing on the deck is not the entirety of the boat. This illustration separates the potential underdeck areas by color. Blue represents the boat storage area. That's the forward section of.
Hold on, y'all.
Now I want you to look at this diagram
This is
carefully.
bigger.
We're talking about a 24-foot Triton, and what matters here is understand that what you see standing on the deck is not the entirety of the boat. This illustration separates the potential underdeck areas by color. Blue represents the boat storage area. That's the forward section of the vessel underneath the deck towards the nose of the boat. Depending on the exact Triton model, this area can contain enclosed storage access through deck hatches. Red represents the large central underdeck area. This is
Oh
underneath
my
the forward and
God,
middle.
they done put Nolan in the bottom of the boat. I'm
Now, I want you
sorry,
to look at
y'all. Okay, we watching this raw. Oh my goodness. Let's watch this. Ooh, Jesus Lord.
diagram carefully. We're talking about a 24-foot trident, and what matters here is understand that what you see standing on the deck is not the entirety of the boat. This illustration separates the potential underdeck areas by color. Blue represents the boat storage area. That's the forward section of the vessel underneath the deck towards the nose of the boat. Depending on the exact trident model, this area can contain enclosed storage access through deck hatches. Red represents the large central underdeck area. This is underneath the forward and middle portion of the deck. In this illustration, it's the largest enclosed area shown, but I want to be extremely clear. The red figure is there to illustrate scale and possibility. It's not evidence that Nolan was inside that compartment.
Whoa.
Green represents the area underneath and around the center console and leaning post section. On boats of this type, portions of this area may be occupied by things such as the fuel tank, plumbing, wiring, storage, or other structural components. The exact configuration depends on the specific model. And finally, the purple represents the aft compartment, the rear of the boat near the transom and outboard module. That area commonly contains batteries, electrical equipment, pumps, rigging, or storage. And that's why the exact boat matters.
And that purple part was what was allegedly filling up, allegedly. And we haven't caught a picture of that. Who the heck was taking pictures while somebody was sinking? But I'm going to move forward,
Everybody argues if Nolan had been on that boat, everybody would have seen him lying on the floor. My question is much more specific. Which floor, which compartment, which hatch, and was every accessible space on this particular 24-foot trident documented and searched? This diagram doesn't prove that Nolan was underneath the deck. It shouldn't be presented as proof. What it does illustrate is why looking at a photograph of people standing above deck cannot by itself tell us what was or wasn't inside every enclosed portion of that vessel. So I don't want speculation. I want the exact Triton model. I want its factory layout. I want the measurements of those compartments. And I want to know which compartments investigators actually inspected. Because once we have those facts, we don't have to guess. This is Felicia, Free Press Action Network. You know what we do. We check power, not people. Stay tuned.
Shout out.
Now, I want you to look at
hold on. One of the first questions here. There are 5 people on the boat. Only 4 were being interviewed. Someone's missing. Well, according to Cito, it was 7. And then somebody said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I gotta give a moment of silence. You know what I'm saying? So we could ponder on this information. Wait a minute. Wait. 2, 4. So this is 6, actually. 2, 4, 6. This is 6. Let's correct that. Someone in the comments said 5. This is actually 6. And they said 7. And you heard somebody say, Nolan, a girl. Let's move forward. It's not that I hate this. That just driving me crazy. That's not Nolan. Somebody's trying to say that's Nolan. That's not Nolan. Let's go back to the boat. A little bit more about the boat. Let's go. So this is how the boat is. I'm trying to stop that music. Oh, this is the area that they're talking about. Several areas to hold the body. So y'all see the layout? Why this is why people are skeptical. So just because Tatum shows a photo and say Nolan wasn't on the boat. I love it. Shout out to TikTok. Oh God, save our life. TikTok saves our life. I was kind of nervous. I haven't been on TikTok a lot because they had, took it from China. I'm just gonna be honest. Once America took it over, I was like, oh, freedom is gone. Nobody gonna make money, nothing. But it's still some things going on. Okay. Let's see. Let's go right here.
Doofy, Officer Doofy, thanks to his caption there, what does his caption say? Breaking. Exclusive images shared off the Triton boat being towed by another boat. After the... Okay, so again, you were being towed here, but you're also calling Cito for a tow, so why...
And who the hell took the picture? Who took this picture? Bart? Huh? Who took the picture?
Why why would you call Cito for a tow when you're already being towed?
Because they needed an alibi. They needed an alibi.
And Officer Doofy, he said it right there. He said it, you know it's true. He said y'all are being towed. So again, explain why you'd be calling Cito to get towed when you was already being towed.
That's what I was confused for. Like, where was Bart? Bart left with them or something close to the time they left. That's what we're going to start verifying when it comes to the police report. And I do have it, but we're going to be going more into that in part 6 a little bit more, cooking on Bart. Okay? Because, you know, we share a lot here. We're going to cook on Bart a little bit more. Damn it, Bart. In part 6, okay, and get more into his boat because he told them he was there with them. When did you get there? When did you leave? Right.
But also, when you called Cito, the coordinates placed you on Horn Island. Y'all are far away from Horn Island, right there. Y'all are not on Horn Island, where the GPS coordinates. So, hey, who's lying here?
Look at this guy. This is who our retard of the year. Okay, so the exact towing pathway duration. Timeline of the tow. The GPS logs show that the boat Nolan friends were on was under tow between 4:31 and 5:25 for almost 1 full hour. Bart told them. That's why I was like, yo, what the hell? It was like, okay, and then once they started moving, they was gone. They had, remember I showed you in the picture, it was like they got there so super fast. Let's just replace this real quick. I think I got it. I was like, yo, how did they get there so fast? Hold on one second. Let me see. Here we go. Look at this picture. From 4:31, they got to the island at 4:35. This is when they was being told. From 4:31 to the island of here, this is when they saying they was being told. Y'all see this right here, right? We just trying to figure it out. And Cito was called somewhere around this time at 3:58 or 3:48. Don't quote me. It was before 4 o'clock. The location and the distance. The data confirmed that the teenager's vessel was towed for between 2 to 3 miles away from west tip of the Horn Island, moving through the Mississippi Sound. Gaining normal speed. The log tracks indicates that after being towed across the distance, the boat gained normal speed on its own. Collaborating the emergency water intake was resolved and bypassed one clear of the island's shallow waters. Do you think something happened around that time, just before they called Cito? Y'all heard them scream Nolan and all of that stuff, which is very heartbreaking. And then allegedly they called Grandpa, and Grandpa was like, I got you. Maybe they hung up on Grandpa and they just like bumping. We calling Cito. And they called, but Grandpa called because he knew the kids was drunk. This is all allegedly. This is my synopsis. So Grandpa called Bart allegedly, or Bart called Grandpa Jerry and said, you out there, tow the boat. It said the boat was moving very slowly for a while, for 2 to 3 miles. Why? They wasn't that full of water. We're going to look at some of the TikTokers, but they wasn't that full of water. Why were they moving so slow? Maybe because Nolan, they had to figure out what to do with Nolan. Somebody had to figure. Nolan was on the boat. You're not going to tell us that he was not on that boat. What you hear at the beginning, they have not been able to definitively say that audio that we all heard, that Nancy Grace confirmed and her producers, that it was fake. Never not pushing it back. Nolan was on the boat. Nolan was on the boat. Now we need to figure out how he got in the water. Okay? Again, let's see if we can find one more about the boat.
which I don't know what it is, but if you look at the front of this guy, there's a red dot right there. What is that? Is that a pool of blood? I don't know. Again, they releasing all the camera photos from the disposable 1998 camera.
That looked like a glitch or something.
And we gotta fucking
remember that they want to discredit people who are talking about this. So be very mindful. Even this picture with the leg, I don't think this is real. Y'all think this real? I don't think it's real. Y'all think it's real? That's why I didn't really want to show some of this stuff, because I don't think a lot of it is real. And they're trying to throw people off. I ain't going to throw me off. Here we go. Let's look at the bows.
Look at this. Check out what you're seeing. Look at all the boats surrounding where Nolan was. Leave up the photo out to Caitlin Becker, senior national correspondent, New York Post, star of New York Postcast, their new podcast. Caitlin, what are we seeing?
Well, what we're seeing here comes from this new report from the United Cajun Navy, and you're seeing several boats strung together. This is one of the first images that we've seen of this certain configuration of boat there. They're all identified, one of which was the boat that Nolan came out there on.
Look at this. Check out what you're seeing. Look at all the boats surrounding where Nolan was. Leave up the photo out to Caitlin Becker, senior national correspondent, New York Post, star of New York Postcast, their new podcast. Caitlin, what are we seeing?
Well, what we're seeing here comes from this new report from the United Cajun Navy, and you're seeing several boats strung together. This is one of the first images that we've seen of this certain configuration of boat there. They're all.
So is this where they're saying they were 50 feet away from the land? Huh? Is this 50 feet, guys? So we just kind of get a visual of what was going on out there in Horn Island. Was this 50 feet? Boats right back to back? When he was like, how many people heard you tell Nolan to get on the boat? About 5. About 5 people. Y'all see all them people out there? That's a daggone lot. Let me see if I can find one more boat breakdown, and then we're going to, I think, what else we have to get to. Let's see. I think we got one more thing to get to. No, I think we're going to be cutting it after that, and we're going to be coming back on another day this week so we can get into a few more topics. Where we at? Yeah, we 2 hours and 11 minutes. I'm not about to cook for 3 hours. We're doing 2.5 hours. That's what we're doing today. Please hit the like button if you like what Miss Grace Levi is doing. Remember that I am not monetized. I will not be struggling with YouTube and the nonsense. You're free, not free. You're free, not free. Just hit the like button, turn your notifications on, and get this work. Let's get into this conversation. That's all I'm saying. If you want to support the channel, check out my sponsors, Primetime Home Buyers, or check out the gift shop that's connected to the YouTube page. We still got that. And go get your freedom hat, okay? Because I'm about to get mine so I can start broadcasting. At least get the freedom hat. You know what I'm saying? We got our breaking the chains, okay? I love you guys. Thank you for being here with Miss Grace Levi. So, yeah, let's see where we at right now. Let me see if I got anything else to show you guys. I think we highlighted a lot of definitive things, especially about Miss Christine's timeline. Also, we have to highlight that Wyatt allegedly took the phone out of the boat, and that was told by Warren. These people are just stupid. I'm just sure they're a little slow, but it's okay. Let's put this on the screen real quick so y'all can remember what we're doing here and why. While I find.
Hey, Pooh Bears. Let me say this. My husband and I are going to continue to advocate. I know so many people are like, oh my God, you need to stay off social media. You need to give it a break. Well, just know I'm not on social media all day. I'm not. I've been heavy in my Kindle. And then, of course, too, I have other children that I take care of. But occasionally I do pop on. Most of the time I just post, come off. But trust and believe that I'm doing the things I need to do to take care of my mental And sometimes posting does feel nice because I get to check in with my different Boo Bears and see how everyone is doing. But again, like, if you have an issue with me advocating and asking questions, I don't think I'm the problem, babe. I think you're the problem. I think you need to take a step back and ask yourself, why are you so triggered? Or what is causing you to be so upset that I am asking for answers? That is it. That is all.
That's right. We try, just like mom. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is the last clip I'm going to show y'all, and I'm going to get to y'all comments. Tell me what y'all see here when we watch this clip. Just one thing that we can observe that everybody, no matter what color you are, purple, that y'all see what's going on in this video. Look at every single person in this video. What the hell they doing? Look at the people. What direction are they looking? Mm-mm. Okay. Can we? What direction was everybody looking? What were they looking at? It was so many of them looking at something. Right. Justice for Nolan Wells. No one's letting this up. Now let's get to some of your comments as we get off. Again, guys, we will be coming live again at least twice this week. I want to cook on the Carmelo Anthony case. We're going to be reviewing the last 2 days of his trial. The appeal and the motion to recuse the judge is the 19th, and then the other one is to motion for a new trial the 20th. Happy birthday to Nolan Wells as well on the 19th. So before then, we're just going to keep on making people aware of some of the fallacies that happened in the Carmelo Anthony case, because that was gross. But with that goes to say, let me get to your comments. Thank you for being here with Miss Grace as we cook on the truth. Okay, this was about his phone. We got it up there. That's why his phone was behind, because he was talked into getting on the boat because of him dating that girl. It's too many people that was around. So lock them up until someone says something, or at least do a good intimidation. How you got interrogation? We be seeing them just saying anything and people just start telling. They ain't doing a good job at all. Shout out to Jamel. Frank couldn't plan out, so drag slowed it down, and Nolan was not on that boat. Not sure what you were saying. I know this is America, but we can do better with writing and reading comprehension. Do you guys know that our generation, Gen Z, can't read or write? Do you know not doctors. I always talking about the doctors. Do you know teachers are crying on TikTok because kids can't read and write? And obviously adults can't either. I ain't the best with my dyslexia, but we're gonna have to get it the hell together here. Get it together, Frank. Why? Why I'm being mean to you, Frank? Because I know you came here to start some shit. They pushed him over and left him, allegedly. That's what it's looking like. Did we hear anything about the world? I think I was the first one to bring this up about this whirlpool type thing that happens at the northwest side of Horn Island. That whirlpool that possibly could have brought him back. Check that out. Warren mother was on the south side of the island. The mother knew what was going on. Okay, guys. I do have that clip from Taylor House Publishing, and I wasn't sure. Was it true? I'm not saying that he don't tell the truth. Not that, because we be getting caught up. But I want to verify that text thing from his mother, his real mother, because she always stupid, first and foremost, to be texting and talking crazy. Secondly, she was on the island. All of Adele should be getting in trouble. Her son was fighting. Her son was fighting. Or was that son that Warren was talking about was related to Miss Ashley? Their kids was fighting. If she was on that island, damn shame on her. They would have been beating up Grace. They would have been jumping my ass. Because I would have been like, stop! Everybody's on fucking timeout. I've been throwing bottles in the water. They would have been fighting my ass, tied me to the boat. Like, nah, she tried to fuck up the party. Yes, this is dangerous. Those kids, let's put this on. Those kids know something and being told to be quiet, just like the adults, as we saw exactly what Warren said. You know, we're a tight knit community here. A month and a half later, we have new witnesses allegedly. I'm not falling for it. I'm not running with that narrative of those two witnesses. They could kick rocks. Who name was on the boat? Who took those pictures of them on the boat? Because pictures cannot be cropped. I want to know. Somebody boat is sinking. They're struggling. Y'all are a tight knit community, and you gonna watch these young boys struggle, huh? And everybody just watched the fight. No adult came running. Y'all know Grace Levi would have been running through the water like, stop the violence. Mama, you already know how I feel about fighting. As a Haitian person, we don't fight for fun. So I don't know this fight for fun thing. We fight for life or death. I'm not going to fight anybody that I'm not trying to cut their damn head off. I don't know this type stuff. So this fighting and all types of stuff is weird to me. We talk a lot of shit in Haiti, but we don't physically fight each other until because heads get chopped off. I don't know how y'all people live like that. Thank you, not a bot. Great explanation. Should have found something with that much technology exactly in 3 different agencies. That was disgusting. All right. Let's get to one more. Harry. Somebody, what did you not say? Black on white violence. It's wildly out of proportion. I don't know what the hell they had to do with what we talking about. I already said we all purple here, thinking from a logical mind. But you see, I'm brown and beautiful. Okay. But with that goes to say, make it make sense, Harry. I want you guys to come up here and make it make sense. Let's represent properly. Okay. Even if you're from the opposite side, don't be a fool. Damn, I'm telling you, do better. All right, I'm about to leave y'all alone. With that goes to say, I will see y'all on my next live. We're going to be cooking on the Carmelo Anthony case. We're going to keep y'all abreast on or refreshed on what happened on the 4th and 5th day. Probably do a little podcast, look at what they didn't do right, that law review type stuff, you know, and kind of figure out what may happen on the 19th and 20th. We're hoping for a miracle because, again, when it comes to the Carmelo Anthony case, myself, I truly believe that he knows he's guilty. He should have been sentenced with manslaughter. He should not have been sentenced for murder. It is excessive. It does not go with the standard norms of our judicial system. And if we continue to allow them to do this crazy stuff to us, and I know you don't consider you us, law on paper applies to anybody they want to because you just as broke as us. Okay? That's why you got white rage, because you're broke like us. And you think we stealing your jobs, but we're really not. You got to have education. Get it together. With that goes to say, I love you guys. Have a great evening. Hit the like button.
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 Jesus, boom, 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 Jesus,
So the date has been set in the Carmelo Anthony motion to recuse Judge Cockroach. It's set for August 19th in Collin County, 9 a.m. And it's not restricted from the public. So that means you need to be there because we recall Judge Cockroach attempted and succeeded at limiting people of color from having access to make sure that justice was administered fairly. So what does that mean? That means that you need to prepare to be there in support on August 19th. So essentially what that means is that you want to attend, you need to prepare to be there because the clear people are going to attempt to do exactly what they did under the power of Judge Cockroach. So make sure you show up, you be prepared, because we want to make sure Judge Sid Harley removes a legal lynching judge who violated his oath of office when he decided to take his clear ass on the news and tell us exactly what he did. The date is
Blowing
August
cash
19th
on random
in
TikTok
Collin
trends.
County.
Instead, dive into Real Estate Monthly info sessions. Next level smart move. These sessions make real estate investing feel like a cheat code. Unlock wealth, understand tax lien auctions, and mitigate risks without the stress. Crazy affordable, like a Netflix subscription for your financial future. With thousands attending, it's legit. Wealth, knowledge, ease, don't